So a day after the first anniversary that the World Health Organization's declared a COVID-19 pandemic, I'll now call this Tuesday, March 9th, 2021 regular meeting of council to order. First item on the agenda under 2.1, adoption of this evening's agenda. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, any additions? All in favor? It's carried. 3.1, adoptions of the minutes of February 23, 2021. Regular meeting of council, Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, any errors or omissions arising? All in favor? It's carried. 4.1, we do have a delegation this evening from the Valemount Senior Citizens Housing Society.
Your Worship, Mayor Torgerson, council members, senior staff, and any public that might be watching. My name is Rashmi Narayan, and I'm working for the Valemount Senior Citizens Housing Society, leading the development of Valemount Cares, a new seniors supportive living facility for our community. The reason we requested a delegation with council tonight is give you an update on the project, including the design. Since the village is the property owner where the project is to take place. I want to thank council and senior staff who have championed this project and come up with solutions when we thought we'd have to start all over. Some scary times. I also wanted to take this opportunity to introduce two key members of our team who've been working with village staff. I'll turn it over to Rhonda, who will continue the presentation. Thanks.
Good evening, Your Worship, councillors, senior staff, and public. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with you this evening to speak to this very important project. First, I'd like to introduce our firm, David Nairn Associates. I'm a planner and development consultant with David Nairn Associates, and we are based out of North Vancouver. I'm currently based out of Squamish, but our offices are in North Van. We started working with the Valemount Seniors Housing Society back in November as a development consultant, and then we were also hired as a design consultants to the project starting in early February. Jeremiah, who I'm going to just hand over to introduce himself, is the architect on the project. Jeremiah.
Hi, council, senior staff, and public. I'm Jeremiah. I'm the project architect for Valemount, and I've been working with Rhonda and Rashmi to get us to where we are today. And I'm going to give a short little presentation on the design. And Rhonda will be assisting me at certain points along. Is it okay for me to share my screen?
Yeah, I think so, but I'd like to say a few things.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead, Rhonda.
Like I mentioned, we're really excited to be working on this project. It is a remarkable project. The level of community support for this project is very high. Going back to early in our days working on the project back in November, we've met consistently with the village planner to identify ways to meet the village requirements as well on this very important site along Ash Street. We worked with your planner to tighten up the site plan for the project and meet those requirements, understanding that the frontage to Ash Street is an important component of the overall development of this parcel of land in Valemount. We also had the opportunity to meet with your OCP consultants to talk about the overall master plan for this area and to ensure that what we're doing is supportive and can be integrated into that overall plan for this area in Valemount. We're also another thing that's remarkable in this project is the level of fundraising that the community has done for this project and people who have come forward and and contributed to this project as well, very early on in it. And also the Village of Valemount's contribution of the infrastructure to this project. So the sewer lift station is a very important component of the development of this project. It's not something that BC Housing would typically fund. So being able to include that in our proposal to BC Housing to develop these senior units was key to that proposal. So we were really happy to be able to include that contribution. One of the other things I wanted to talk a bit about that makes this project stand out amongst many projects is the level of program and servicing space that's available in it, and the type of vision around the services and programs that are going to be offered to the seniors living in this facility. Generally with independent living, we don't see the same level of program and service space. And in this project, and Jeremiah will speak to this when he goes through the plans, in this project, we're looking at developing commercial kitchen space, dining space, an area for a lift tub, office space, a flex space where there can be visiting doctors or healthcare workers that come in. I don't want to get too much further into the design, so I'm going to pass it over to Jeremiah now, and he can take over and let you know kind of where we're going with the design and some of those really interesting factors that we've been moving forward with on it.
Okay, great. Thanks for the great intro, Rhonda. And yeah, just to reiterate what she said in relation to the funding that's been done to date, it's very unique for this project. I've worked on numerous other BC housing projects, and this one in particular, just having those multiple funding resources, potential funding resources, has allowed us to do some really interesting things with this project, and I'm really excited to share that with you guys. So let me just share my screen here. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So this is just this is just a front perspective of the building, just to give you a taste of the kind of entry condition, but we'll get into the 3D stuff and the visuals later. What I want to really start with is the kind of core design concepts that Rashmi and her group first came to us, and what they instilled in us as the most important elements of this project. Number one being social gathering. And this has become even more prevalent with the current COVID pandemic. You know, the ability for especially seniors to gather, socialize at a safe distance and to be COVID safe. And even past COVID, just the ability to socialize safely and having spaces that people can come together and celebrate and socialize together. Next is sunshine. You know, we live in BC, and daylight and access to daylight is obviously very important. And this connects into biophilia, as something that I'm very strong proponent of in design. If you guys don't know, biophilia is humans' innate desire to be connected to nature. So that's a driving principle in a lot of the design moves. So this is everything from the natural materials that we have, views, connections to nature, daylight, as well as growing food and having nature wherever possible. And then next is flexibility. So the ability to change as the Valemount Cares Society grows. Efficiency, when it comes to energy as well as cost, and then the ability to expand into the future for future units as well as long-term care. We're also looking into net zero energy ready. So this is important to clarify that this isn't net zero, it's net zero energy ready. And the difference is that we will be designing the building to eventually become net zero ready. To go net zero ready right away would be very costly. So what we want to do is initially build a very efficient building, and that's through, you know, a very efficient envelope, excellent mechanical solutions, but then having the flexibility to transfer to sustainable energy. So either you know, geothermal, solar panels, solar hot water, and get to the point where the energy that is used by the building is then negated by the renewable energy that's on site. This will be done initially through a workshop with the consultants to understand what it will take to get to that point. And that at that point, we will understand the cost premium to get to that point, and you know, really make our moves carefully to get to this point. The next drawing here is the site plan. And as Rhonda pointed out, we worked closely with Rashmi, but as well as the OCP consultant, Michael Van Housen. He was a great help, and we had numerous meetings with them to kind of understand how this layout would work for future flexibility of this site and zoning of this site. We've placed the first initial building near the top left portion of the site along Ash Street, with a main parking entrance off of Ash Street, and then a circular turnabout at the end of the parking. The main building is a U-shaped courtyard building with the units down each side, a nice southern courtyard, the ability to grow and flex in the future, as well as social program areas and service areas at the top. The nice thing about the layout of this site is that for future programs, such as the future long-term care housing, as well as future additional units, can be expanded along this social corridor spine that will connect all of the units together. And why this is important is it touches back to that main element of social gathering and the ability to safely gather, especially in the wintertime. So this main social spine would connect all three buildings in the future. And it also allows the future residents to have a, you know, a winter protected corridor that they can use for walking and socializing. At the bottom of the units, we are proposing a community garden and park that would feather into these green thumbs in and out of the courtyards, with a pedestrian access, fire truck access point. So regularly it would just be a pedestrian zone, and then it could be used for fire truck access in the case of an emergency. And then this would be flanked in talks with the OCP with a program that would accentuate and complement the proposed senior housing to the top here. We're also going to tighten this up at the top to make sure that the future zoning and future developments have as much access to the Ash Street, because we understand that that's the most valuable part of this site. And then as this program expands into the future, the parking will expand, and then the hope is that this road to the north here actually becomes a paved road, and instead of a turnabout, we would access the exit on the top here. And sorry, one last thing to point out is that we also talked to the OCP about connecting this garden community space to future trails within Valemount. This is just a quick partie diagram that illustrates what I talked about in the site plan. So the living units in the pink, yellow represents the circulation and common spaces. So as you can see, there's these long circulation spaces that connect all of the units. And then off of that are the program and service spaces at the top north part of the building. And then natural landscaping that feathers and fingers into each of these south-facing courtyards. This is a more detailed layout of the building. As you can see, we've got the combination of 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom accessible units, 1 guest suite, and then the circulation along the corridors that then connect into the program spaces at the top. We start at the, if we go back to the site plan, the main entrance here, off of the parking lot, a nice covered front entry with an office, lift hub, and then a nice big lounge, flexible lounge and dining space that goes on to the southern courtyard. And then more utilitarian spaces, laundry, utility, commercial kitchen, waste, multi-purpose room. When we get into the detailed layout of these units, one thing to point out is that the corridors are much larger than usual. And the reason we've done this is to allow for these interior porches. So promoting that idea of socialization, especially in the times of COVID, where people can socialize at a safe distance, as well as having an exterior porch for more private moments. So each unit has an interior porch with a little window onto their kitchen and an exterior porch. Each unit is designed to be completely accessible and flexible, as well as the the 2-bedroom unit, which is very similar to the 1-bedroom. It just has an extra bedroom.
I'll just take a pause there for a minute, just to our allotted time, but Council, I'm pretty hungry for more. What say you? A motion to extend the delegation, Councillor Pearson, Councillor G, any discussion? All in favor? It's extended. Thank you so much for that pause.
Okay. Next is just the overall areas, this just shows that we're at approximately 15,000 square feet in total area. And then the colored graph to the left just indicates the different funding parts that we're going for. So the green indicates BC Housing, and then the yellow indicates the CMHC and other funding that we're going for these multiple program areas. So that's the design, and I'll come back to it if we have any other questions, but and I know your time is sensitive, but I just want to show a quick video that illustrates the inside and the different parts of the building. So just hold on one sec. So this is the main entry here. Program spaces to the left, a main covered front porch entry with an office, and then the dining lounge area to your left. And then from here, we move into one of the private suites with a screened wooden area to provide privacy, but still allow light into the unit. And once we move from the exterior porch, we go to the back where we have the big shared green area that would connect to the future zoning behind with the southern courtyard straight ahead. Then this just moves into the interior corridor and illustrating that larger public space and the interior porches. The other thing to note is we've really pushed daylighting. So we have clear story lighting up above, as well as views on either end of the corridor. Again, making spaces that people want to socialize in. And then back out and then into the south-facing courtyard. And then onto the dining and lounge area. And just before we finish, I just want to point out something that I didn't mention before is to the right here is a greenhouse component. And this is something that we added later on, but we feel it's a design element that really complements the idea of net zero, providing the occupants the ability to grow their own food, not only in the greenhouse, but as well in the south-facing courtyard. And the greenhouse also allows us opportunities to really push the envelope for net zero, where we could actually collect heat from this greenhouse and use that hydronically to help heat the rest of the building. So that's the design in a nutshell, and I just want to open it up. I'll go back to the PDF, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that council or senior staff have.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate, on behalf of council, bringing an update to us. It's a absolutely smashing and exciting project. Looking forward to further updates. So just at this time, I'll just take a motion to receive the delegation. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, questions for the delegation, comments? If that was the end of the presentation, of course.
Yes.
Councillor Blanchette?
Got a comment. It's amazing and it's quite exciting. And in 40 years, I'll be ready to move in. And I really like the idea of that, the social connection as we grow, into the different units that we're going to need. How many units are there totally?
Currently, we have, I'll just go to the, we have 18 units. So we have 16 one bed and two beds, and then the one guest suite.
And one guest. Okay. When are we hoping to break ground?
It's a little aggressive, but our hope is that in early fall, we're hoping to break ground.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And it is very, very exciting and very, very needed. So thank you very much.
Further comments, questions? Will we receive another update prior to the fall as information is processed and forwarded from BC Housing to your group? Will council get an update either in a reading file or another delegation, etc.?
Yes, I'm more than happy to make another presentation with our team. We're expecting a response from BC Housing end of this month or early April. And that is only for the residential units. And we're simultaneously looking at other funders, CMHC and FCM, so that we can get more funding for the common areas, as well as rely on some local fundraising. So we'll keep you posted once we get some information from the funders, or if there's any changes to design that you guys need to be aware of. We don't anticipate it, but it all depends on how the funders need us to make it fit their requirements. So yes, we'll be more than happy to come to council and make another presentation on a regular basis.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate not only tonight, but communication moving forward. Any further discussion, questions? Thank you so much. Motion, please. All in favor of receipt? It's carried. Under 6.1, correspondence for action, we have a recommendation from staff to enter into discussions regarding the installation of a Tesla superstation at the Visitor Information Center. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson. Discussion.
Supercharger just sounds exciting.
They are exciting. I'm looking forward to having that here. 2022 was the kind of the install date. Is there any possibility, Mr. Administrator, that date could get pushed to this year?
We would have to ask Tesla if that was the case.
Okay. I mean, we are a strategic location on a electric vehicle highway. That would be cool if they could move their timelines up a bit. Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Anything out of the reading file catches anybody eye? Councillor McLean?
Oh, there was a couple things actually. One of them was the Fish and Wildlife Compensation Program, the Columbia Region News, December 2020, the grant program where I believe that anybody interested in doing something towards fish and wildlife compensation can get a grant, apply for a grant of up to, was it $1,000? I just wanted to bring that to local people's attention. The second thing was the SIMP Resource Group regarding the Forest Stewardship Plan, Kamloops and Robson Valley TSA's review and comment. I wonder what we were doing about that, who we had assigned that to, or whether it might be something that the community forest people could review for us.
Well, at this moment in time, nothing's happening to it. It's sitting in the reading file. Mr. Administrator, would you like to comment?
Just that that has been forwarded to the community forest by Simp Resources.
So there's two separate referrals then, one for the village. Who will be dealing with ours?
That would be, if council so wanted us to provide a response, council could direct us to provide that response.
Did you have something specific in mind or just something that?
No,
Staff to direct some energy towards a
Yes.
response?
Yeah, I had read through it and realized that it's fairly complex and that I wasn't certain on how it was going to affect our timber supply. These referrals are standard to different agencies. And so I just wondered what we had done if we had staff who were, this was their specialty, or that could look at it with an eye to discerning how this will affect our timber supply and our area.
Yeah, no specialties within these walls of a forestry-based background. Certainly not a chief forester in the room. You're probably the closest one, Councillor McLean, in terms of your background. Would you like some energy put towards this file and a referral sent?
I think we should.
Or
Yes.
a reply to the referral request?
Yes.
Seconder, Councillor G. You got the spirit of that resolution? Discussion? All in favor? We shall send a response. Councillor, would you care to work with administration on that response? If you'd like to put some thought to paper and forward it?
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you. Did we have an all in favor? It's carried. Yeah. Anything else out of the reading file? There was a couple. Councillor McLean, you said you had a couple out of that?
That was the first one was
It
the
was
wild
just
bites,
Fish and
and
Wildlife,
the
yeah.
second one was the referral.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson?
Also a couple. First one, province-wide restrictions being carried on. It's rather disappointing that people are still not getting the message. Everybody's relaxing, thinking that imminent vaccinations are going to be the cure-all, but no, as we learned earlier today, fines are still being handed out locally for gatherings. So I find that somewhat disappointing. And the second part is the good news side of things, is the immunization update, where the seniors are in line to begin immunizations. Anybody in care is getting theirs this week through the clinic, and then there'll be a seniors clinic on the 31st. And I will congratulate Northern Health for being very proactive and reaching out and phoning the seniors in the community and booking appointments for them, rather than putting them through the process that everybody experienced yesterday with 1.7 million calls in 3 hours and shutting the system down. So good on them.
Yes, amazing to see Northern Health taking that proactive approach. Anything else, Councillor?
That's all for me.
This side of the room? Councillor Blanchette?
So I had the immunization update as well, but so I just wanted to add to that. So when it is your age group to call, just call for your own age group, please. You know, don't try and preempt everything, because that's what clogs everything up. Let everybody have their turn. Everybody will get done in their turn. So just be cognizant of that.
Councillor? No? No. Awesome. So under 8.1, we're going to move right into budget considerations with a presentation from our Director of Finance, Mrs. Lori McNee.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the presentation I have tonight was included in the agenda, so I'm assuming everyone's had a chance to read it. So I won't spend too much time on it, but I will just highlight some of the issues with it. Again, the process is that staff come to council, we review some of the expenditures projects, get approval for them, and then those are incorporated into the 5-year financial plan bylaw. First and second reading of the bylaw will be coming on March 23rd. After that, we will be doing a public presentation. I hope to be using the, I believe it's civil spaces that we have on our website to include public engagement that way. I'll bring back any public comments, issues for council to reconsider, and third reading of the bylaw. If everything is fine with council, we'll go into fourth and final reading. The 5-year financial plan must be adopted prior to May 15th. That also includes the tax rates. After that time, then we can go ahead with the tax billings for the year. So just to go through the council strategic priorities from 2019 to 2022, communications, nothing budget related. Community health, I highlighted conduct a review of assets and develop a comprehensive asset management plan that we completed last year. Staff continues to review that plan and to initiate more financing towards the assets of the village. Land and planning, no budgetary items. Fiscal responsibility, everything you see under here is what we've tried to incorporate into the 5-year financial plan. The general category we have includes office administration, public works, roads, garbage, cemetery, tourism, and grants is included in the general section of the budget. Last year, we had a number of projects that we completed, completed or still in progress, as the OCP bylaw and zoning bylaw. We're nearing completion of that. We had municipal land surveying done. We hired another public works employee, and we're just finalizing the website development. Those are some major projects from last year. Some of the assets that we completed, 99 Gore Street, we did some recants and accessibility upgrades. We purchased some new canford trees for the Centennial Park. We did the airport weather station. We purchased a plow and sander, public works mower, upgraded some the library LED lighting, and completed some airport surveying. With that, these are carry forward projects that were in the budget from 2020, and this amount will just carry forward into the 2021 budget. So it's already been budgeted. It'll go into surplus. It'll just simply come out of surplus again. 2021 new projects that we have. Usually we come to council with a number of items that we need approval for. Most of the projects that we have going for 2021 have already been approved throughout the year. I think I'm going to start with the COVID-19 SAFE grant funding that we received. There was $501,000. Staff came to council a couple of meetings ago and asked for some projects to be approved. One of them is internet connectivity. There's also a municipal building, the permanent generator for this building. Public outdoor washrooms, we're just waiting to see if we have final approval on the granting for this one. If not, then this $100,000 will go towards the washrooms. If not, this $100,000 will be freed up if that grant is fully approved. We also had some LED signboards, mobile and stationary, and those have all been approved already. General revenues that come in, as you can see, almost everything that we get from the village is grants. Next is taxation revenue, and then smaller amounts come from various user fees, rental fees, and investments. So just number-wise, grant revenue that we're expecting, over $3.6 million. Taxation, just under $900,000. Transfers, $556,000, and that will include transfers from surplus of 2020 to 2021 to cover those unfinished projects. And then smaller amounts as you go down. General expenses, most of those grants that we receive are going straight to capital. And then general government comes in after that, and then it slowly goes down with the expenses. Numbers just so you can see, 2.45 million for general capital, 1.2 for general government, 1.1 for recreation, and then it goes down from there, as you can see. One of the requests that will be coming forward in a report that's coming next on the agenda is a 4% increase on taxes for the 2021. Previously, council has accepted that request. 2% goes towards the cost of living of all of the expenses. The other 2% we've put towards asset management. A quick calculation, we're still waiting for the revised BC assessment rates to come in. It's approximately $13 per 100,000 for each property owner. The water budget, we have completed or in progress. This should be actually asset projects. We purchased the water treatment plant clarifier and UV lights. Carry forward projects, underground sprinklers, and that's Centennial Park. We're hoping to coordinate that with the public washrooms that are being hopefully coming in place. Some French drains, retention pond, pumps, more water filters, etc. Absolutely.
Councilor Blanchette?
I just wanted to ask, how many French drains is that? Do you know?
One.
That's one French
Yes.
drain? Where is it being put?
I believe Public Works had 3 or 4 different options right now. And I think after the recent flooding, they may change their mind.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? New projects for water category, the water model calibration plan, and that staff had come forward to ask for that, the Northern Capital Planning cover that, and that's been approved. The water supply master plan, also for the Northern Capital Planning grant. Swift Creek restoration, Northern Capital Planning grant, and we're still waiting to see if the Community Emergency Preparedness grant comes through. So fingers crossed that that one does. Most of our water revenues come from water sales, and that is the utility billing every year that we send out. Some grants, and then slowly goes down with other revenues coming in. Overall, just over 400,000 in sales, grants 161, transfers 111. Expenses, most everything goes to the operation of the water treatment plant and distribution of the water. And there you can see over $650,000 is going towards that water.
What's remaining on our long-term debt? Ish.
I do not have that number, but I can get that for you.
Thanks. Is it less than 10 years?
Around 10 years.
Around 10 years.
I believe it, and I hate to say this, I believe it was 20 years when I started, 10 years ago. For the sewer, the completed projects, we had completed control panel replacement. We analyzed pumps for all our lift stations. So Public Works knows which pumps have to replace when and in which order. So we always have backups. We completed the sewer line cleaning and ordered UV lights for the sewer plant. Carry forward projects, of course, the Dogwood lift station. We are still waiting for the grant approval. I'm going to be optimistic. We should know by the end of March, April, so we can go forward on that. Of course, council has approved some spending prior to that, so we can get started on some drilling. Also routing some sewer lines, a flow meter, and pond maintenance, just regular. For 2021, for new projects for the sewer, we are requesting a sewer line camera. And the reason I have in the report that I gave council, Public Works is able to go in and see where there's any issues happening, and we can deal with it right away instead of having to hire a company from out of town or waiting for an in-town company to schedule around us. So sometimes it's an emergency, so that was one of their priorities. Oh, sorry, I went that way. The other one is the mandatory government reporting on the sewer plant and the Starlight Sanctuary. And I believe Public Works gave a very brief description of what they were asking for the ministry and what we have to do to enhance that. Something that staff simply can't do. We don't have the expertise for that. The other one, I'm going to rename this as the Ass Street, south of the high school. It's not just for the senior housing, the lift station for this. Council has approved the Northern Capital Planning grant to go ahead with this. And right now we are working with Urban Systems to coordinate this lift station and Dogwood lift station together in the hopes that we can save some money doing them both together. And I see that Valemount Cares is very gung-ho to get started, so that means the pressure's on to get it done. Sewer revenues. Most of our money is coming from grants, and that is from the Dogwood lift station that we have. And then sales and user fees. Dollar amounts, 2.6 million, 435,000, etc. Expenses, again, the biggest expense, capital, and then all of the operating for the waste treatment. Any questions?
Quick question. Sewer sales and user fees?
Would be on your utility billings. That's
Okay,
what we
it
charge
just
for sewers.
Seems like an odd term, sewer sales
I
per se.
Included in that is some sewage dumping fees as well.
Dumping fees.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was, okay.
Would you like to buy some sewage?
Never know. Sell it to the farmers in Alberta.
Speaking of that, some of those revenues came from the Trans Mountain that we have going with them. Water revenues last year was at over 115,000. Sewage revenues over 290,000. Please note that this does not take into consideration the expenses that it took to maintain these revenues, such as employee expenses. We had to replace some pumps, etc. So with those revenues, council, of course, offset the requested 9.5% increase to utility bills, and it was only 3%. So residents saved fees on that. At the end of 2021, we'll be bringing forward the new revenues that we've received, and council can decide what to do with those at that time. The Northern Capital Planning Grant, we currently have $3.73 million set aside for this. And as you can see, the list, council has already approved to spend that grant. We have approximately $1 million left after all of these projects have been finished. The other big grant we have received is a COVID-19 Safe Restart Grant. That was just over $500,000. And you can see the projects here that council has already approved, remaining $137,000. And staff will be bringing back another report to see where those funds can be used at a future time. And that.
The restrictions on the COVID-19 Safe Restart Grant say there has to be expenditures before a certain time, i.e., I mean, obviously we can't put it in reserves, but at the same time, do we have to just go frivolously spend it prior
No.
to December 31st, 2021?
No, these funds will be set aside in reserves until we decide what to do with them.
Thank you.
The restrictions on this grant are pretty open. And that is the end of my presentation. Everything else you will find in the report that I provided council in the agenda report. If you have any other questions.
Questions for the director? Further questions other than what were asked during the presentation? Well done. Thank you so much. As always, thank you for preparing a awesome budget and presenting it to council.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take a motion to receive the presentation. Councillor G, Councillor McLean, any questions for administration or the other, something that wasn't, need more clarity on, or before we move into the next item? All in favor of receipt? It's carried. And we'll segue into 8.2 for the budget requests. We have a couple of recommendations here. Number one, sewer surplus in the amount of $22,500 for the purpose of engineering costs to update required ministry reporting in the 2021 budget. Councillor G, Councillor Pearson, discussion. All in favor? It's carried. The second recommendation here, that the use of sewer asset reserves in the amount of $15,000 for the purpose of purchasing a sewer line camera for the 2021 budget. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, discussion. All in favor? It's carried. And a third recommendation here, that a 4% increase be allocated to the 2021 taxation budget. Councillor G, Councillor Blanchette, discussion. So 2 and 2. All in favor? Carries. Under 8.3, we have an air quality study to award a contract of. A recommendation here that the contract for the air quality data review in the amount of $12,971 be awarded to Hamera EnviroChem Inc. with funds to come from the Ministry of Energy, Mines and Low Carbon Innovation Grant. Councillor McLean, Councillor Blanchette, discussion. Councillor McLean, I really want to thank you for being in touch from both a local government standpoint, local government committee standpoint, the Columbia River Treaty, and that communication with Ms. Strauss out of Victoria. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can make something of it. All in further discussion? All in favor? Carried. 8.4, we have a report to be received under the Community Economic Recovery Infrastructure Program. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, discussion. We will not have a bridge when we will not cross that bridge when we come to it.
It's too bad.
We'll keep looking.
Yep.
How's that? I mean, it's a prime area for recreation, and
Mhm.
especially in a pandemic, we need all the outdoor opportunities we can. All in favor of receipt? Carried. Under 8.5, we have a report to be received for the Columbia Basin Trust Community Initiatives and Affected Areas Program, outlining the 2021 public input process. Councillor G, Councillor Blanchette, discussion. Comments, Councillor Blanchette?
It's a new way of doing it. It works really well. I went on the site the other day. Everything works. It's easy. It's straightforward. And I love the idea of a climbing wall. That was something really exciting. Cool, So thank you for everybody, and thank you for being on that committee and doing all that work. It was, it's really great to see the societies that are having their things in there.
Great
Brains are
projects
working.
coming forward.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great opportunity for and nothing will replace the public input sessions in person.
Yeah.
Watching everybody cringe as they try to present their projects, and
then that 2-minute mark.
and vice versa, getting a huge applause at the end of their presentation. So it's, however, that's the time that we're in. So all in favor? It's carried. 8.6. Staff would like to have an invitation sent from council asking Simp First Nation to participate in the Tourism Marketing Strategy Invitation. Councillor Pearson, Councillor G, discussion. What's the timeline on that again for a response? Is it end of April?
I believe it's mid-April.
Mid-April, thank you. Other questions for administration? All in favor? It's carried. Under bylaws and policies 9.1, we have policy 81 before us, appointments to the board of directors of the village-owned companies. Recommendation here that the appointments, that policy number 81, appointments to the board of directors of village-owned companies be adopted as presented. What's council's wish? Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, discussion. Councillor Blanchette.
So I'd like to propose some amendments. I would like to see, we just need one council member to be sitting on that board, and I think one staff member. And there's a few issues with here it says 9 members, but then in the policy itself, it says 7 and 2 members of council. So I think we need to sort of tweak that. And I think one of the other issues too is 3.1 on the policy. It says all directors shall serve on a board term for 2 years. I think we should alternate that because we don't want to lose the experience all at once. I think to have everybody walk off, after 2 years would be detrimental. So we should split it the way we do with the CIP, 2 and 1 or 3 and 2. It should be staggered. And
I think further down in the report, there is a staggered.
oh, is there? Okay. And I think we need to remember too that the staff member is a non-voting member. The staff will not be voting. They'll be there for minute taking and those kinds of issues.
So if I understand this right, you want 1 member of council, 1 member of staff. The report already suggests staggered, or the policy already suggests staggered, and to ensure that staff are non-voting.
Mm-hmm.
And in your idea, what would that staff person do?
I think they're there for any kind of, because we're the stakeholder. So anything that needs to be dealt with, we need to have that communication back and forth. I think that over the years, for whatever reason, the communication's fallen apart. I've been here for quite a while, and if somebody asked me what they were doing right now, I have no idea, absolutely none. It's not anybody's fault, it's just the way it is. So I just think that we need to tweak a few things. And maybe perhaps we need to have the board and the staff come and have a chat. I mean, I don't know. But I know that we're getting a lot of questions from the public. And as the shareholder, we need to know what's going on at all times. We are responsible. And I have no clue what's going on. I don't have any issues with how everything's being run. It's fabulous. They're doing a great job, but I have no idea what they're doing. So.
Well, just before we ask for general amendments or a motion to amend, we'll just keep that as discussion points. All right. Councillor Pearson.
So just clarification, and I agree with Councillor Blanchette. We are receiving questions from the public, and I think as council, as a stakeholder, we have to do due diligence and have those lines of communication opened up. When you look at the agreements, there's a lot of places that it's fallen down. AGMs, according to the agreement, are supposed to be presented at a council meeting as a matter of public discourse. We haven't seen that. So there's lots of issues, I think. But one clarification on Councillor Blanchette's amendment. If the staff member, one staff member appointed, is considering a non-voting member, now do we still consider that a board member, or do we go 1 and 6 and we just have the staff member attend? How would that play out if they're a non-voting member?
Well, in that case, you could direct staff to attend meetings. They are open for the most part. And so that non-voting staff person would just be there in attendance rather than a vote on the floor. And so you would still have that odd number of directors. You would probably, by dropping one member of council, you would probably open up that position to the general public.
Yeah, and that would be my question, is if we're looking at one member of council and 5 members of the general public plus a staff member, or 1 member of council, 6 members of the public and a staff member attending. That would be where I would look for clarification.
So they do have, it says up to 9 directors too. So is it 7 or 9? What are we, right? That's the other.
Mr. Administrator, do you have a comment?
Certainly, just to clarify, so the shareholders agreement, I believe it is, states you can have up to 9. So it's fine to say whether you could reduce that number to 7 if you wanted to. You could bump the number up to 9. It's up to council's discretion on that.
Councilor Pearson.
Through the mayor to CEO Robertson. So would the expectation, in your view, of that staff member be a sitting board member or just attending in, I guess, an observer's position?
As the policy was written, it was actually to have the staff member as a voting member, but it's council's discretion whether or not that's what the council would want. It's fine either way. They can be, I forget what the exact term is for it, but there is a term for somebody who sits on a board but is not a voting member. And I could definitely look up that term and make sure that that's included on there on the staff member.
Ex officio.
Ex officio, thank you. Yeah.
Just jotting down some notes. Further discussion? Councillor Blanchette, back to
So
you.
we'd have to ask that staff member as well. Did they want to be a voting member? They may choose not to be. I don't know. I don't know if I was a staff member, if I'd want to.
That's something that will be quite decided tonight. I mean, staff will either be directed not to vote in an ex officio status, or council will direct that staff person, one of Mr. Robinson's staff himself or whomever he decides, to be a voting member or not. That is up to council, as the administrator highlighted.
Okay.
So thus far, I have one member of council, one staff, non-voting. That ex officio. Further discussion?
And then that would bump to 5 members of the general public for the 7th.
For this, for this,
Yeah,
could, but for this policy set. 9. Go ahead.
Sorry. So yes, you'd want to decide how many you want to have in total. However, if you wanted to remain at the number 7, you would need to have 6 members of the public plus 1 member of council, and then the staff member would be ex officio, and they would just be there.
yeah, I was just thinking, because otherwise you got a potential tiebreaker.
So we need to decide if we want the staff member to vote or not, and then pick our number from there.
I think my recommendation is, it's, in looking at it, is the 1 member of council, 1 staff member ex officio, and then bump it to 6 members of the general public, such that we have an odd number of voting members.
Second on the amendment. Councillor G. Discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment? Carried. Back to the motion as amended. Further discussion, Councillor G.
I think this one is just more for clarification for me. Item 3.3, it was more the timing of when this is going to go into effect. This is village directors will be elected during the inaugural meeting of council and the first meeting in the month of November 2 years after. So would that be, when would that be?
The inaugural meeting is in November of 20, well, it would be enacted immediately.
Oh, okay.
And then November 20, I mean, that council person would have to be chosen tonight, Mr. Administrator?
I guess that's my question.
Or are we waiting until November 2022?
You could, well, no, you would want to, probably the best way to do it would be decide how you want the policy to proceed. And then we can bring this back once it's agreed upon, and we can deal with that at the next meeting.
Clarity sought. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. No new business tonight. Is there a notice of motion coming forward? Council reports. Yeah, council reports. Councillor Blanchette.
So March 1st, we had elder care, and just for everyone's knowledge, we're setting up a hearing clinic. So there'll be more to follow on that. Did you hear me? It is for everybody. No, just a minute. This is no, it's for seniors. I'm sorry, that's the specific funding. So it will be for seniors. I know. We did have on the 2nd, we did have the OCP review, which was really great. And then the 8th, we had our child and youth mental health, and we tried to have another OCP meeting. It was cut short, but we will be having that again. And then today was the tourism strategy workshop, which was really fantastic. A lot of really good conversation, a lot of really great ideas.
And the second half will be later on in about a month, month and a half. So that's it.
Thank you. Councillor G?
I had on February 25th, we had our initial, I guess not initial, committee meeting with CBT to just review the applications that came in and to talk about the launching of the online platform and what that's going to look like. It was pretty good. Zoom is not the easiest platform to have meetings on, but I think we got it off to a good start. The nice part is the longer time period for people to have that public interaction. So we're really hoping that will offset the not being able to attend in person. March 2nd was the OCP meeting, and that's it. That's all I got.
Thank you. Councillor McLean?
February 11th and March 3rd, I attended CBT, CRT, Local Government Committee virtual meetings. At this time, we have updated our terms of reference and are working on understanding and using modeling to incorporate socioeconomic interests in the Columbia River Treaty negotiations. On February 22nd, an update of the committee activities was released to regional districts, boards of directors, and the Valemount Village Council. I haven't noticed whether it's on the village website, whether you could access it there, but you can access it on the yeah, on their website. On March 2nd, I attended an official community plan virtual review with the rest of council. And last evening, I attempted to attend the final public presentation on the official community plan.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson?
All right. March 1st, I also sat in on the Elder Care Collaborative meeting. March 2nd, I sat in for Mayor Torgerson and hosted the EMS briefing with Sergeant Dean, Derek McClure from BC Ambulance, and CAO Robinson. Also on the 2nd tourism meeting, the OCP roundtable, which was a great presentation. March 3rd, I had an Operation Lifesaver webinar to deal with doing online presentations. It was on the MS Teams format, which is not my favorite. I learned to hate it really quickly. October 8th, also tried to join the OCP webinar. And then today was a busy one. So this morning we had the tourism strategy workshop, 3 hours of really good conversation and discussion. It's very difficult to sit down in 3 hours and try and look at where tourism is going to be in 5 years and how we get there. I mean, it's especially when we're in the middle of a pandemic and we're sort of looking at, okay, let's pretend it didn't happen and what we're going to do. So it was a challenging, but really well put together by the consultants. Shortly thereafter, I had an Operation Lifesaver BC committee meeting. Followed shortly after, again, sitting in on the EMS briefing for Mayor Torgerson. And, you know, general topic of discussion is people are still having gatherings and they are receiving $2,300 gift coupons as a result of, so, yeah, so that's my report.
Wow. Councillor Blanchette was asking large gatherings.
They're not really specifying as large, but known to be non-members of household. So the latest ones are locals. The previous weekend were not local residents. So
We're only a year into the pandemic.
yeah.
Need a break. Thank you, Councillor. I had a really light couple of weeks in terms of municipal engagement. March 1st, had a Southeast BC Regional Broadband Committee meeting. Columbia Broadband Corporation was able to provide an update, both from a BC Hydro standpoint. So we had a presentation from two representatives from BC Hydro and how rent occurs when you're using their poles for anything else other than the transmission of power. And it's cost of installation and annual maintenance thereof is $45 per attachment per pole per year. And then if something happens to that pole, BC Hydro removes that pole down to your line, wherever your communication line is, and it's now your responsibility to attach it to their new pole. So some good technical review there. March 2nd, OCP review presented to council from the consultants. March 8th, attempted to attend the public engagement online. Unfortunately, some technical issues there. We will be rescheduling. And then today I had the absolute pleasure to meet with Minister of Tourism, Melanie Mark, Minister of Municipal Affairs, Josie Osborne, and our hero, Dr. Bonnie Henry, as the three of them presented to the Resort Municipalities Initiative and collaboration as to how and what potential issues could arise and also opportunities could arise with spring break coming at us. Of course, being coupled in there with St. Paddy's Day, organized summer outdoor sports and gatherings moving forward. No announcements made today, just some hypotheticals, see where the modeling is going. Stay tuned. We could see some lesser restrictions for over the spring break in terms of travel. We could see some lifting of junior sports in the summer. That would be really cool to get kids back outside again. And yeah, stay tuned, as the good doctor says. That's my report. Motion to receive. Councillor Pearson, Councillor McLean, any comments, discussion points around the reports? Councillor Pearson?
Just a comment on your meeting with Dr. Henry and the potential, looking at modeling and the potential easing and watching our daily numbers consistently over 500. We're not going in the right direction, unfortunately, but hopefully, and of course they're seeing it down the lower mainland where people are out and about and they can free up outdoor sports. We have some time to wait before there's anybody on a soccer field in Valemount, but
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. There was certain discussion points today around regionalization of restrictions and easing and more stringent. And the good doctor was just, no, we're good. We're provincial wide. So we'll see how that plays out. I mean, she's at the helm. Other comments, discussion points? All in favor of receipt? It's carried. Not heading in camera this evening, so I'll ask a motion to adjourn. Councillor Pearson.
Public comment, but there weren't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before we ask for adjournment, were there any written or current public comments received?
There were no public comments.
Thank you. And that was, of course, under 14.1, which I absolutely missed.